China is a market that is quickly becoming globally powerful. Joining me, Catherine Drake, in compiling this presentation has been Quinn Coford, Serena Sharp, and Andrew Lawrence. With over 1.3 billion people, over 20% of the world's population, China is the world's most populous country. During this presentation, we will review research that is imperative to our success in understanding this country in which we'll operate. Hofstede dimensions are essential to China's culture. This bar graph illustrates the cultural differences between the United States and China. 3 out of the 5 categories, namely PDI, power distance, IDV, individualism, and LTO, long-term orientation, have significant differences. I will cover those. PDI, power distance. In China, the poor do not feel entitled to wealth. They are complacent within their class. Individualism illustrates the way in which a country thinks and forms decisions based on others around them. In China, the score is very high, meaning they formulate opinions and actions based on the collective good instead of an individualistic desire. They're fiercely loyal to relatives and not just their immediate family, but they give care and consideration also to their extended family. This also extends to the work environment where individualism melds into a broader decision for the good of all, where relationships take precedence and showing respect is paramount. LTO, long-term orientation, focuses on a country's perspective and value system. Because China has a high LTO, the assumption is that people place a high value on saving, investing, ancestors, and social obligations in order. They value persistence and adaptability. China has a term in their culture called noxi. It means a very strong commitment and mutual obligation. Relationships are a vital part of success in negotiations in China. Focusing on the meaning of this word will help agreements reach negotiation. When it comes to building relationships and showing respect, we must consider our audience. There are 2 types of generations. The first generation is the older generation who are more traditional. The second generation, they're more westernized and they're used to a quicker pace and more input. It is important for us to focus on communication to bridge the gap in areas that are vital to the outcome of negotiation, and where needed, we feel it's essential to use a local intermediary who will pave the path for better, solid negotiations. China follows a single-party socialist system. The Communist Party is namely authorized under its current constitution to govern a socialist state, overseeing its political, economical, and social affairs. China's government is broken into several bodies: political, executive, legislative, judicial, and military. The highest governing body is the National People's Congress, and it's the only legislative body. The president and vice president are voted on by the NPC and serve 5-year terms. The current president, Xi Jinping, took office on March 15, 2013. It's important to focus on China and their rating in the Economic Freedom Index. They ranked 136 in this index in 2013 with an overall score of 51.9. While China remains a communist country with the status of mostly unfree, it has shown improvement since last year's 51.2 score. According to the Heritage Foundation, it's very unlikely that any political reform will take place, while the converse can be said about the economic reform. China's GDP reached 9.2% with 6.5 unemployment, compared to the United States' 1.7 GDP and 7.9 unemployment. China is economically healthier and is growing more rapidly. Ever since China's 2010 score of 51 on the Economic Freedom Index, it has shown positive growth of improvement. Though China's score is currently below the world average by 7.7 points, it has enormous economic potential for growth. Its GDP growth rate dwarfs each of the top 10 countries in the Index of Economic Freedom. Trade barriers. These are essential to consider when evaluating China. Over the past 11 years, China has experienced a rapid change to its trade policies and tariff rates. They continue to promote trade by lowering tariffs on different products. On December 17, 2012, a press release stated that China planned on lowering tariffs to promote industrial upgrade and domestic demand. Currently, the average import tariff rate is 12.47%. However, tariff rates still range from 0 to 100% depending on the product. The following are basic calculations to determine tariffs. Import tariff has a calculation, import VAT, and import consumption tax. While China looks to be opening the ease of trade within its country, there are a few non-tariff barriers that disrupt the flow in and out of the country. Examples of non-tariff barriers include industrial policies and a poor record of intellectual property rights. The Chinese government is able to protect industries of their choice from foreign competition because of their intense industrial policies. Because the U.S. is a member of the WTO, our company is entitled to the lower export rates in China. Then once we use the calculations to figure out our approximate tariffs, we find our company should seriously consider China for FDI and as thriving market to sell our products. The Chinese government has stated that it welcomes foreign investment. It has indicated that it will look at restricting FDI in resource-intensive and high-polluting industries. With these policies and guidelines in place, China has broken down foreign trade into groups, giving each of these groups certain incentives to invest in China. These groups are as follows: special economic zones, open coastal cities, economy and technological development zones, high technology development zones, and free trade areas. Let's discuss the current economic conditions. China's inflation rates have varied widely throughout the past 5 years. Analysts believe that rates may continue to rise in the upcoming years due to the economy's slowdown. The government spending amounts total to about 23% of GDP, according to the Heritage Foundation. In 2012, the GDP grew from its 2011 $7.322 trillion USD to its $8.227 trillion US dollars. In referring to the GDP graph, we can see the government spending has helped increase the flow of money into the economy, increasing the overall GDP, and in addition has helped China remain the second largest economy in the world. When focusing on the GDP growth percent graph, it seems to be slowing down. Many economic analysts illustrate the hopes and belief that it will increase by the end of 2013. Current economic conditions continue as we look at the interest rates. For the first time in 5 years, China has announced a decrease in interest rates going from 6.56% in 2011 to 6% in 2012. We can see from this information by studying this graph that as China sits today, 6% looks good. Interest rates have large implications when it comes to the success of the economy and business. The GNI coefficient is well distributed in the economy equally. Are there certain classes that have the majority of the economics money and spend more? This data below shows a 5-year history of China's Gini coefficient. In referring to the data, China is leaning more towards financial inequality rather than the equality we will need to focus our marketing efforts towards the higher class or the one spending more money. This should not affect the decision to conduct business in China. Unemployment rates will show us a 5-year trend in China. It's important to pay attention to the unemployment rate. Currently, the current currency in China is the Chinese yen. And as we evaluate this, we need to keep close eye on how the yen is trading and if it appreciates. And with the surplus trade money, China is buying up American debt. China is a majority owner of $2 trillion of the U.S. debt. but the Chinese yen is on the rise against the dollar, and it's doing fairly well. China is a member of the World Trade Organization, and each of these help when introducing products. We would like to introduce our products of walkers and canes. We believe that we will focus on hospice care that will focus on the life care for the elderly. There are other large companies that we will be in competition with, and so it is important for us to be aware of that. But our focus is to deliver a foreign brand that is manufactured in China so that we can compete in costs and also have medical supply stores that sell our products. We will be entering an entirely different business plan because our main competition is a hospice service that is delivered mainly to cancer patients. We're going to focus on home care for the elderly and the sick. By allowing them the comfort of living at home with professional care, we'll be able to capture a large majority of an untapped market. In China, as people are living longer and the elderly population continues to rise, market demand for healthcare and rehabilitation products designed to meet the needs of seniors for home safety and physical health is fast expanding. We will focus on services as the solution to meet the Chinese values and needs. If you have questions today about today's presentation, please contact Quinn Colford, Andrew Lawrence, Serena Sharp, or Catherine Drake. Thank you.